Hello, welcome back to my channel. A short while ago I posted a video on YouTube about a little second-hand picnic stove I purchased from eBay, which runs on a little spirit burner and it still works fine after 50ish or so years. Well, today I'm going to show you a modification I do to the little spirit burners that I feel, in my opinion, makes them a little bit safer to use. So feel free to watch and hopefully you'll enjoy the video. Thank you. So firstly, I'm just going to show you this spirit burner here, and just to clarify, they're not called Trangia burners. It really annoys me when I see so many videos that are titled Trangia burner. They're not, they're just spirit burners. Trangia is a brand. Yes, there are Trangia burners out there, but they're no different to the rest. They're basically the same. This one comes with a snuff lid, and this is used for simmering as well, so you can actually adjust the flame by putting that simmer lid over the top, and as you can see there, you can adjust the burn on it. And then it's got the standard screw lid there where you fill the reservoir up with spirits. You can either use methylated spirits or you can use the biofuel, the liquid biofuel. Biofuel works. And then inside there is a rubber seal, so that any spirit you've got left in the burner afterwards, once it's cooled down, and it's important that it cools down, otherwise you'll melt the rubber seal, you can just screw that on and then it becomes safe to put in your backpack and to carry on your travels. And then the snuff lid and the simmer ring just clip over the top like that. What I'm going to do today is show you what I do to make these. You can well imagine that when there's fuel burning in there, if you accidentally kick it or knock it and it tips over, then obviously the fuel will come out. What I do is I buy carbon felt, it's also known as graphite felt, and what you need to do is measure down here for the depth of the actual reservoir, cut a strip of the carbon felt that's the same depth as you require. You don't really want to bring it all the way to the top. I sort of generally bring it down to a few millimeters underneath the top, of half a centimeter or so. When you've cut the strip, you roll it up and then you wedge it in here. You pour the liquid fuel on top onto the carbon felt, and it can still soak through and into the reservoir in here where the wick is inside, where it then gasifies and burns off through the little holes around the top here. But by putting the carbon felt in, it means if you actually knock the burner, the carbon felt effectively acts like a sponge, so it doesn't actually spill the fuel everywhere. So in my opinion, it makes them a little bit more safer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my measure here, and let's see, that's roughly 1.25 inches, which in centimeters is about 3 centimeters. I want to cut the actual strip of carbon felt to. So what you need to do if you're going to try this modification, you'll need to measure your burner. They're roughly, you can get standard size, you can get smaller size ones. Obviously you need to measure your own one to make sure that you're going to get the right depth for what you need for your own burner. But I've measured that in as 3 centimeters. What I'm going to do is I'll get the strip of carbon felt and I shall cut a length of it that's 3 centimeters, so that will fit nicely into there. The carbon felt I generally buy in small rolls. You could classify it as a sheet. What you've got to bear in mind is that it also comes in different thicknesses. So depending on how thick you buy, this is 5mm, you can get thicker, you can get thinner. Depending on what thickness you buy, you obviously need to adjust the actual length you cut to roll up in here, but you're going to have to do that by trial and error. Just by luck, the actual measure I have here is exactly 3 centimeters. So I'm going to use this as a guide for me to cut the vein. You haven't got to be exact. Try and get it as best as you can, but you haven't got to be exact, because all it's doing is acting as a sponge to go in the reservoir here to makes your fuel soak into it, so it becomes anti-spill. I'm going to put a glove on here because I'm going to be using a knife. Yes, you can use a Stanley knife, you can use a craft knife, you can use scissors. I like these little cheap craft knives because I find them so good. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut along here. I'm probably going to cut, I don't know, I'm going to cut the actual strip. It's so easy to cut through as well. I say be careful when you're using a knife. I always use a glove on the hand that I'm not got the knife in, just for a bit of protection. I'm going to cut roughly along to there. It's all trial and error, and you can see it cuts really easily. Then I'm just going to cut that down here. What you need to do then is you need to start rolling this up fairly tightly. Hopefully you can see that. You need to roll that up, and then what you can do is as you go, you'll get a rough idea for the actual diameter of your burner there. As you go, just pick it up every now and again and measure it. That's getting nearly there. I'm going to do another turn on there. That's slightly oversized now, so I'm going to cut it off there anyway. I'll keep my fingers out of the way on this. I'm going to cut it off there. And as you can see, it's a little too tight to go in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unroll it and just roll it a little tighter. Try and get it a little tighter because I like to cut it so that when you push it in, it stays wedged in and there's no chance of it actually falling out. Yes, you can pull it out, but there should be minimal chance of it falling out. And again, you can see it's slightly oversized there, but if you push it in around the bottom, you'll see that that will actually then fit in. That will push down into the burner. Hopefully you can see that somewhere around there. Doesn't look that pretty. As I say, I do mine fairly tight. You can do it slightly looser and it will look a bit more aesthetically pleasing to you. But that is basically it. And then, just move that out the way, I'll show you what to do with the fuel. Right, so I've filled this up with some fuel now. As you can see, let's get that in there. There's nothing coming out because the actual carbon felt has acted as a sponge. There was a little bit of excess I poured off, which wasn't soaked up, but what I'm going to do now is going to light that to actually show you that there's fuel there. And you should see that start burning. It's just, yeah, I can feel a flame on that. And then that will just work as a normal burner. Yes, the actual carbon felt does take up space in the reservoir, so you will get less fuel in there. But as I say, I believe it makes it safer to use because you've not got the potential, if you accidentally knock it or kick it, that the actual fuel is going to spill out everywhere. What I have done on some others, I'll get another burner to show you what you can do if you wish. And this is what I've done on this one, is if you want to actually make it a bit more secure for the actual carbon fibre felt to stay in there, is to put a little bit of stainless steel gauze over the top. Cut it slightly oversized. You can buy sheets of this on eBay, Amazon, as you can with the carbon felt as well, as it's also known as graphite felt. Just cut it slightly larger and bend it over at the edges and push it down, and you can see that's quite solid. But you can use them like this, they're absolutely fine to use like that. So I shall leave that burning a little while to actually show you in a few minutes how it actually still gasifies up through the holes around the outside of the ring there as per normal. Okay, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes now since I lit this, I've tried to zoom in as best as I can with this camera on this phone. It's not the top class phone here, so I'm doing my best. But as you can see, it's burning away fine. I don't think you can actually see it on the camera. I'm not too sure. There are starting to get the uh, flames around the holes here where the spirit is gasifying inside. So I say it works perfectly fine. I personally believe it's safer. I'd rather have slightly less capacity in the fuel chamber due to the carbon felt than risking knocking it over or kicking it and the fuel spilling out and burning everywhere. So hopefully that would be of benefit to some of you. Naturally, if you're not competent, don't try doing this. You know, I can't take any responsibility for what you do. This is what I do, and I believe, from my opinion, is safer. You might have different opinion. If you're not competent, don't even attempt to try this. As I say, you can get the carbon felt, also known as graphite felt. You can buy it on Amazon, eBay. Be really, really careful, because some of these sellers will only sell you very, very, very small sheets. They advertise them as welding sheets or something along those lines. I've bought rolls, small rolls that are, I think they're 200 millimeters by about 1.4 meters, and they're roughly sort of £18, somewhere around there on Amazon. But look around and see what's in your budget. I'm sure there's probably other products out there that are fire safe as well, which you could use in these. This is just what I've always used, and I found it easy to get hold of and easy to cut and easy to actually fit inside the chambers. Anyway, I'm going to put the snuff cap on that now to get rid of that and let that cool down before I put the lid back on. If you do have these, and I've purchased one of these little spirit burners from AliExpress recently. It's a little Lixada one. Lixada's quite a popular brand for these little camping stoves and the little wood stoves you can buy, the wood burning stoves. If you buy one of these and it doesn't have your snuff cap and like your simmer ring all built into that, you can naturally still extinguish them. Just make sure you take the rubber seal out before you put it on top of the burner. Otherwise, if you put it on top, that's going to melt, and then any spirit you've got in there is going to spill out, unless of course you've done the carbon felt modification to it. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video. Feel free to drop some comments against the video. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you've tried this. Let me know if you've used any other products inside the actual reservoirs that gives the same effect as the carbon felt. So hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching to the end, and see you soon. Take care. Bye bye for now.